Imagine sitting alone in the dark, a computer screen lighting up your face as you watch everything you own vanish in seconds. There are no loud alarms and no broken windows. There are only red numbers dropping to zero. This is the quiet ruin of lost savings. Years of hard work disappear, leaving behind a cold, heavy silence. This silent crash does not start with a simple mistake. It begins with a deep, unseen pull that drags ordinary people into a dangerous game. It is the trap of FOMO, the fear of missing out. This trap looks like a golden ticket, a promised path to an easy life that everyone else seems to be walking on except you. The seed of this trap is planted in a deep feeling of dread. You look outside and see neighbors and friends suddenly getting rich without trying. They talk about big wins while your money sits still. A heavy pain grows in your chest. You feel left behind, stuck in a slow lane while the world speeds toward wealth. This primal fear of missing out is incredibly powerful. It reaches into the oldest parts of the human brain and turns off basic logic. When the pain of watching others win becomes too much, smart people do foolish things. They stop asking questions. They just want to join the winning team, even if the game is built on madness. This blind rush to join the crowd is driven by the mechanics of herd mentality. Think of a massive flock of birds flying across the sky. When one bird turns sharply, the rest turn at the exact same moment. In investing, humans do the same thing. When a few people chase a hot trend, a giant wave follows blindly. The market feeds on this wild, shared emotion. It stops caring about what a thing is actually worth. As the herd runs faster, prices are pushed higher based on pure empty hope. This creates massive market bubbles. People are not paying for a real business. They are trading real money for a dream that is ready to pop. To understand this dark trap, we must step back to the muddy, busy streets of Holland in the 1630s. The air was thick with the smell of trade, as ships brought goods from across the world. But the people were not obsessed with gold. Instead, a strange fever took hold of the entire country over a simple flower. This was Tulip Mania, the first recorded financial sickness. The mass trick of the mind grew so deep it poisoned everyone, from rich merchants to poor street sweepers. A simple flower bulb became the most prized object in the world. The fever spread like a dark sickness, convincing a whole society this tiny plant was the secret to wealth. The madness reached a chilling peak. Hardworking people traded everything they owned just to get a single tulip bulb. They signed away family homes, farm animals, and the tools they used to make a living. Blinded by the herd, they did this step by step. They fully believed someone else would pay them even more tomorrow for that flower. Then came the chilling morning when the buying just stopped. There was no warning bell and no clear reason why. Suddenly, the spell broke, and no one wanted the flowers anymore. Prices fell faster than a stone in a deep well. In mere days, the grand illusion shattered. Thousands woke up to silent ruin, holding dead plants instead of money. The streets of Holland grew cold and quiet in the days that followed. Families who once had warm homes and full tables now had absolutely nothing. The deep trust between old friends and close neighbors was broken forever. The grand dream of easy wealth had turned into a waking nightmare, leaving a whole society in shock. People slowly realized they had traded their entire lives for dead roots, rotting in the mud. This ancient ruin holds a very dark and chilling truth. The object people wanted would change as the years passed, but the deep flaws in the human brain did not. The exact same sickness was just waiting in the shadows, ready to strike again. It proved that when the fear of missing out takes control, logic simply dies. More than 300 years later, a new kind of fever began to spread in the late 1990s. This time, it was lit by the eerie blue glow of early computer screens. The internet offered a breathless promise of a bright, wealthy future. It was the start of the dot-com bubble, a highly contagious sickness that looked exactly like the madness of the past. In this new digital gold rush, the rules of reality seemed to vanish. Companies with no actual money, no real products, and no clear plan were suddenly worth millions. All a business needed was a .com at the end of its name to work like magic. Regular people stared at their glowing screens, completely mesmerized by the wild, speculative numbers climbing higher every single day. The daily news and early internet chat rooms acted like raw gasoline poured straight onto a raging fire. Voices from the TV told everyone that a new world was here, and the old rules of money were dead. People were not really investing anymore. They were gambling blindly on a story, driven by the frantic voices echoing across the web. This was the trap closing its jaws. The deep fear of missing out on the future blinded an entire generation. It made smart, careful people throw their hard-earned life savings into the dark unknown. They saw their friends getting rich on paper, and the pain of being left behind pushed them to buy in at the absolute highest prices. Then came the grim spring of the year 2000. Just like the flowers centuries before, the invisible money suddenly ran out. The buying stopped, the screens flashed red, and the market began a terrifying freefall. There was no safety net to catch the falling numbers, and the panic spread faster than the greed ever did. The chilling realization set in as giant, celebrated internet companies vanished into thin air. Their massive buildings emptied out, and their digital empires turned to dust overnight. Regular, hard-working people were left holding worthless pieces of paper. It was a brutal echo of history, leaving ordinary workers to face the devastating wreckage alone. Behind the falling numbers was a quiet, crushing human tragedy. The financial loss was terrible, but the immense shame was far worse. Men and women who had worked for decades sat in silent suffering, staring at bank accounts that had been completely wiped out. They felt a deep, burning guilt for falling into the trap. This is the cruelest part of the fear of missing out. When the illusion breaks, the victims always blame themselves. Many felt so foolish that they hid their total ruin from their own husbands, wives, and children. They carried the heavy, dark secret of their lost futures entirely alone, trapped in the quiet devastation of a broken dream. The devastation of these crashes is not just a failure of math. It is a trap built into our own bodies. When a person buys a soaring stock, their brain does not see it as a simple choice about money. Deep inside the mind, a powerful chemical reaction takes place. It is the exact same rush of a drug addict getting a sudden fix. This chemical rush creates a blinding high. The thrill of watching the numbers go up completely shuts down the parts of the brain that handle logic and fear. The investor stops seeing danger. They only feel the intense burning need to get more before the feeling stops. The fear of missing out, or FOMO, is not just a thought. It is a physical addiction to the speculative climb, blinding them to the edge of the cliff. Today, this trap is no longer stuck on noisy trading floors. It lives right inside our pockets. Modern investing apps glow with bright neon colors on the smooth glass of our smartphones. They are built to look and feel exactly like harmless video games. When a user makes a trade, the screen bursts with digital confetti and cheerful sounds. The market is now a constant shadow, following us into our bedrooms and cars. These glowing apps send endless alerts, pinging and buzzing at all hours. Every notification tells the user what they are missing right this second. It is a perfectly built cage of flashing lights, keeping the herd mentality alive and running hot day and night. The most unsettling truth about market bubbles is that this madness is rarely an accident. Large, unseen forces in the market actually need this wild behavior. Wall Street giants and massive investment firms need regular people to panic and buy at the very top. Without that sudden flood of desperate buyers, the big players would be stuck holding the bag. They use the blinding hype to their advantage. While the news screams about the next big thing, these quiet giants start to sell. They use the massive wave of public FOMO to unload their own heavy shares at the highest possible price. They hand their expensive, overvalued pieces of the company straight to the eager, rushing crowd. The grim result of this endless cycle is always the same. It is a massive, quiet transfer of wealth. The money flows away from the panicked, desperate many and goes straight into the pockets of the cold, calculating few. When the Tulip Mania broke, or the dot-com bubble burst, the wealth did not simply vanish. It just changed hands. The regular investor is not just losing their savings to simple bad luck. They are stepping into a carefully laid trap. The system is built to feed on their natural human emotions. They are being actively hunted by a machine that turns their deepest hopes and fears into profit for someone else. The hardest part of the crash is the quiet morning after. It is the deep, hollow feeling that settles in when the investor finally sees the truth. They look at their empty accounts and realize they were never a genius picking a winning stock. They were simply the final fool in a very long, very cruel con. That realization leaves a profound, lingering pain. The victims understand that their own basic human instincts were used as weapons against them. Their natural drive to survive, to provide for their families, and to follow the safety of the crowd was twisted into their ruin. The true horror of the bubble is knowing that the enemy was not the market, but their own hijacked mind. Escaping this endless cycle of loss requires a quiet, difficult rebellion. The market is designed to make you react, to make you feel fear and greed in equal measure. To survive, you have to do something that feels completely wrong to your human nature. You must look at the wild, spinning game and simply refuse to play. It means walking away from the bright lights and the loud promises of fast money. Stepping out of the trap demands an almost unnatural level of self-control. When everyone around you is bragging about sudden riches, your brain will scream at you to join them. It takes immense willpower to stand still while the crowd runs toward a cliff. You have to accept that you will look foolish to the herd for a little while. That is the heavy price of keeping your money safe. The only known cure for this financial sickness is slow, deeply boring discipline. Real wealth is not built in a few days of wild trading. It is built by buying small pieces of real useful businesses and holding on to them for years. There are no sudden thrills in this method. It is like watching a tree grow day by day, year after year. This slow method completely lacks the rush of a market bubble. It will never give you a sudden rush of adrenaline. But buying boring value over a long period of time is the only true way to survive the market. By putting away a set amount of money every single month, you remove your feelings from the choice. You stop trying to guess the future and start building a real foundation. To protect yourself, you must follow exact, strict steps to block out the noise. First, you have to go into your phone and turn off every glowing alert from your investing apps. You must stop checking the daily prices and ignore the breathless news stories telling you what to buy right now. You have to build a rigid, unbending plan that you follow no matter what the market does. Building these mental walls is exactly like locking your doors against a predator in the night. The market wants to break into your mind and steal your peace. By sticking to your strict rules, you keep the danger outside. You create a safe space where the panic of the crowd cannot reach you. This is how you take back control of your own future. The long history of these devastating crashes has forced a major change in how everyday people save their money. After decades of watching regular folks lose everything to fast trends, a massive cultural shift took place. Millions of people finally stopped trying to pick individual winning stocks. Instead, they moved trillions of dollars into massive, slow-moving index funds. This quiet move completely changed the financial world by buying a tiny piece of the entire market at once. Regular workers stopped playing the dangerous game of the unseen players. It became a permanent, structural defense against the madness of the crowd. This massive wall of boring money now stands as the greatest shield against the traps that ruined so many lives before. Yet the scars of the old bubbles still remain deeply etched into countless families. Across the country, there are parents who had to delay their retirement by 10 or 15 years because they chased a sudden trend. The money they lost was not just numbers on a screen. It was their freedom, their time, and the safety net they had worked so hard to build. Those lost years can never be won back. The true cost of the trap is seen in the quiet moments of everyday life, and the vacations never taken and the homes never bought. For the families who survived the crash, the lesson was learned through profound pain. They carry the heavy knowledge that real safety only comes when you finally stop chasing the illusion. The world of investing permanently changed after the brutal market crashes of 2022. Across global trading networks, a sudden drop wiped out trillions of dollars in just a few months. The modern digital gold rush ended, leaving behind empty accounts and a harsh new reality. The deep belief that prices would always rise was broken. It was replaced by a cold truth recorded in millions of ruined financial statements. Today, the online forums that once buzzed with wild buying are quiet. The endless alerts that pushed people to join the herd have faded away. Lawmakers are still digging through the wreckage of the latest bubble, trying to build new rules to stop the next wave of speculative madness. But the long record of human history proves that the trap is never completely destroyed. It simply waits in the shadows for a new group of people to forget the past. Somewhere right now, a person sits in a dark room, staring at a single red line dropping to zero on their phone screen. The loud noise of the crowd is completely gone. There is only the quiet, heavy weight of the fear of missing out, leaving its final, permanent mark.